Some of you asked me what was up with the weird control scheme you saw in my last video. Is what I would have said if anyone had actually watched the dancing.
It's gonna be okay.
If you want the short answer, here it is. Space SDF allows the use of a dedicated finger for each movement direction, resulting in faster and more precise controls. It is superior to Space ASD because it gives the pinky finger more keys to work with. For the long answer, you'll have to go back in time to 2021. No, let's ignore all that and focus on just one thing.
That is bullshit blazing, still my heart is blazing.
Easy Gears Drive just released and I was grinding away on a controller when I felt what every gamer dreads, pain in the hand. Ever seen one of those? If you're not a hardcore nerd, probably not. It's called the Hitbox and was my first attempt to get back into GT Gear without taking pain meds. Unfortunately, these were sold out or too expensive in regular places, so I chose a shady deal instead. In the meantime, I tried emulating this control scheme on my keyboard, and surprisingly, it worked really well. It took forever, and I worried I would never see the dancing I purchased, but eventually it did arrive, and even work, and could finally play GT Gear in peace again. As time passed, I moved on to other games, and tried using the fight stick there. For some games it worked well, for others not so much. Eventually the inevitable did happen. Like a mistress from a rich jackass, the Hitbox got left behind in some back alley. At this point, my hand pain was just a far forgotten tale, and I switched to the usual WASD control scheme. But then, the pain returned. Like a protagonist who saw his heroine get bopped right in front of him. He came back, and this time, he was out for blood. I needed a solution, so I started looking into ergonomic keyboards, and came across these weird Dactyl Keyboards. They looked promising, so I looked up where to buy them. And, oh boy, it was a Hitbox dilemma all over again. For the time being, I had to be content with hand exercise, good posture, and the wrist brace. Around this time, I also switched back to Space ASD for controls. One day, I was browsing eBay Kleinanzeigen, the German Craigslist, and by some miracle, there was a Dactyl keyboard for sale for an even more miraculous price. Setting the keyboard up was a real struggle, but the seller helped me figure it out. I never learned how to properly touch type, so I took the opportunity to learn it by getting used to this new keyboard, and my typing speed skyrocketed. Unfortunately, I stopped using my wrist brace at the time. I would come to regret this after abusing my thumb with the thumb cluster, and the pain returned. Like the smart guy I am, I found a great solution. Just switch the thumb clusters around, so my other thumb does all the work. You're never gonna guess how that went. Moral of the story: don't overutilize the thumb clusters if you like your thumbs. Gaming. I like gaming. Do you? Unfortunately, the Space ASD configuration didn't work that well with the Dactyl keyboard, so I thought of the solution. Move ASD 1 over to SDF, and this time it was an actual good idea. Before, my pinky always felt underutilized, but now there were tons of keys it could reach. You might be wondering how I can jump when I have space as my forward key. Simple, with A. I really wonder why I haven't heard of Space SDF before. There is ESDF, but it still has the main flaw of WASD. Having to use only one finger for both back and forth, slowing you down. With Space SDF, however, you have a dedicated finger for each movement direction, making the whole process faster and smoother. You really start noticing the advantage in games where all 4 directions need to be utilized constantly, like bullet hells or fighting games. Let's talk about downsides. There are the obvious compatibility problems with games. The standard layout is WASD, and some games don't even allow you to change it. There are workarounds, of course, like auto hotkey for more advanced users, or keyboard manager if you want an easier solution for rebinding your keys. These work great, but whenever you want to chat, you will need to disable and re-enable them when you're done. Otherwise, your typing gets messed up. Would I recommend giving this layout a shot? Definitely. You don't need to get a fancy Dactyl to be able to try it out. It takes some time getting used to, but once you do, there's no going back. Should you get a Dactyl keyboard? This is a bit of a tougher sell. If you have a 3D printer and the know-how to build a Dactyl keyboard yourself, that's great and makes it an easy recommendation. If not, you'll have to rely on relatively small sellers, deal with high prices, and potentially long waiting times. Furthermore, you need to be very careful to not get scammed. If you're an idiot like me, the software side of things can also be a challenge. With everything said, if you consider yourself an enthusiast and use your keyboard a lot, it might be worth looking into it some more. Otherwise, I'd recommend holding off for now. Who knows? Maybe Dactyl keyboards will become more mainstream eventually. Thanks for watching.